Paul, welcome back. How does it feel to be here again?
No, really good. Really nice to be back here. Something spoke about that I wanted to happen for a long time, and you kind of wonder whether it ever would. And today, I guess, that wish has come true. So, really pleased. Seen quite a few familiar faces, obviously some new faces. Sat in here with improvement to the dressing room since I was here last time. And really looking forward to getting started.
You were appointed by Mickey Moore. What's your relationship with him?
Yeah, I know Mickey for quite a number of years. Initially, I think we came up against each other as manager in non-league, and then I think he was assistant, and then you've seen him at lots and lots of games, scouting players, etc. So we have known each other for some time. Obviously, the first time working together though. And we've got to work in conjunction together. That'll be hopefully a strength. And looking forward to getting to know him better and hopefully bringing some success to the club.
It's your first time working with the director of football. You've kind of touched on it, but how will those duties be balanced?
I think a lot's made of the idea, and as I mentioned before, I think the role is very different at different football clubs. The way that it's been explained here is Mickey will help in terms of identify players. He'll put obviously a lot of recommendations forward, be part of actually going and watching the players, etc., along with his team underneath him. But he will also obviously look at players that I recommend, but he'll negotiate kind of a lot of the deals. So a lot of probably what Mickey will do is I think most managers would want, in terms of taking a lot of that work away and not getting endless calls from agents, etc., that take up a lot of the time when it could be better spent doing other parts of the job. So that's how a big part of what I see. I'm sure there's other duties that Mickey carries out, but I think that's the bit that really I think excites him and what he enjoys probably doing the most from speaking to him.
How important was it to you that Chris Doig also returned to the club?
Well, look, I've had a long-standing relationship with Chris from Grimsby, where I initially signed him as a player, but started to do a little bit of coaching for me back then, and then situation changed at the club and became my assistant, and we've worked together ever since. I think what I would stress is we clearly got some shared values. I think we're aligned in a lot of things. But there are plenty of times when we maybe disagree, and with Chris, and I mean this in the best sense, if he disagrees with something, I'll know. It's not just a case of being a yes man, and I think that's why it works, because sometimes we maybe butt heads, or like I said, we have a different thought, and in the end, unfortunately for him, it's from my final decision, I suppose. But it's far better to have someone like that, and he enjoys the coaching. I don't mind doing some of that, of course, but I think I learned very quickly from starting the role, where I was doing near enough everything, and that's where football certainly has changed with the amount of staff. I only have to look at how many of you guys there is for the media department. So I think we complement each other very well, and I obviously enjoy working with him, so really pleased that he could come in as well.
How about the chairman? What's your relationship like with him?
Very good. I'm just smiling because he, as soon as you see him, he starts sort of telling his jokes, and I think sometimes you have to think about whether he's being serious or not. But no, I had the best relationship that I've had with the chairman, and I've had a very good one at the club that I've just left in terms of the owners there. But different in terms of the chairman's here every day, and obviously games I think maybe changed a little bit in terms of travelling with the team, etc., from when I was here first time, but we just sort of seemed to hit it off. I guess there was a lot of good results to celebrate last time, which always makes a relationship that bit easier, but I think we just, like I said, get on away, not away from football, because it's at football, but whether it's talking football or anything else that's going on in the world. And I wanted to come back to work with him. Again, the saying in football is about picking your owner, and I feel very lucky that I've got an owner that I know will give me every opportunity and trying to back myself and Chris as much as possible. And I know that there's sometimes noise around in terms of people wanting investment, etc. And I get that, but I also think you do have to be careful what you wish for. And in the chairman, you've got someone that this club means so much to, and he deeply cares about. And trust me, you know, at times he feels, I know he has felt and does feel very hurt when things aren't going how he wants it to. So when someone's as passionate about their club, I think that's always a big plus as well.
What do you make of the current squad we've got here this year?
I think there's talent in the squad. I think clearly there's some things that maybe haven't gone as well as everyone would have liked, and I'm sure that includes the players themselves. There's been injuries which has impacted. I think that's something to be truthful about as well in terms of the loans straight away, which wouldn't have been easy for Matt to deal with, and then other injuries to big players at certain points. And then for me, I guess it's trying to see what I can get out of certain individuals that maybe haven't performed to the levels that I think most people I've spoke to feel that they can. So I kind of, for me, I guess to try and get to the crux of that, you know, is it attitude, is it setup, is it relationships, whatever it may be, that's a big part of being a manager. I think everyone can identify a good player, realistically, and accepting we maybe have different views or you know, traits what we like in players, but it's how they all fit together. You know, it's a team sport, and they've got to, you know, again, whether it's system, whether it's relationships on the pitch, relationships with staff, etc. We've got to try and get all of that right in a very small period of time, and then we can look. Everyone can look at the situation again in the summer. But first and foremost, that is the big task of trying to make sure we're all on the same hymn sheet to try and get results.
The transfer window is obviously open. Do you have an idea about where you want to strengthen, what sort of positions?
I do, but at the same time, you know, I obviously haven't been in and worked with the players yet, and again, sat here, I've tried not to, done some research, and I've watched games, obviously, myself, but what you think and what is actually real will only become apparent once I'm in with the players, and even then you might get small wins that then maybe people go back to type. Someone might be the opposite, it might be a little bit sort of insular, and you might need to build a relationship and get more out of them in a couple of weeks, whatever it may be. But I guess these are the calls that I've got to try and make very quickly, and in all honesty won't have all the evidence to do so, but that's part of the job. And then we'll look at what we can do in terms of bringing players in, because as I said, I'm sure you know, Matt and every manager will want to bring players in. It's not always possible, whether it's finance, whether it's quality of player. You know, there's lots that go into it, whether it's players turning you down. I think that's already happened in the window, where either parent clubs have changed their mind on a player's availability or a player's gone elsewhere. So all these things we've got to take into consideration. But all I will say, Saturday, is I will be trying my utmost with Mickey to bring a couple of players in that will hopefully improve the squad, or perhaps give us something a little bit different than what we already have.
This might fall under the same umbrella as something you haven't necessarily got all the answers to just yet, but obviously the squad is built for a 3-5-2 formation, and you traditionally have played a 4 at the back. Yeah. Is that a concern? How do you see that at the moment? I
think in terms of, I guess, becoming a really well-functioning team, there's an element it could be a bit of a concern. But I know during my managerial career that we've had times when we've perhaps lost a player the day before a game, and you've had to turn up to a game and it totally changes what you can do as a team. And then you might have to go through tactics and the shape of the team on a tactics board prior to kick-off. I've certainly, you know, I've got something in my head where that happened. The players played really well and did well. Now, I don't think that that's luck, but at the same time, you are relying on players being intelligent and understanding. I think a lot is, again, like job titles, I think too much is made of them. I think tactics, formations, it's almost just a start position. And then depending on how you put, like a 3 at the back can be played very different still. You know, fundamentally you have 3 centre-backs, but you might want one of them overlapping in possession. You might want them never to move. They might be asked to be pulled into wide areas. They might stay the width of the box. Lots of different things. What I'm hoping is to inherit players that are quite bright and can do different things and adapt to different systems if that's what we try. I think they have been a back four a couple of times, you know, whether that's in game or the start of a game to try something different. So again, it's something I'm going to try and quickly assess, and there might be a bit of trial and error initially, but if that happens, then that's on me. But as I said, at the same time, we are throwing the players or putting it all on the players. You cross that white line, there's only so much you can do as manager. And that's where I kind of wish I could still play and at least try and influence, you know, your direct opponent. So that's life. I'm too old for that now.
And then just finally, what are your aims, firstly for the rest of the campaign, and then looking longer term as well?
I think for the campaign is to try and get as many points as we can, and hopefully that takes us away from any danger. And within that period, it would be great if we can, you know, or I can be assessing the squad and looking towards next season, and moving forward. It's to try and just get the best group we can together and bring some good times here. And again, we all know what happened last time, and I get that, and that, I guess, how well it went is part of the reason I'm sat here today. But at the same time, success can be very different for different clubs because of the finances that are in football are getting like more and more ridiculous every season, it seems. And the most important thing for any football club, in my opinion, as a fan, I want it. Yes, we all would love to, you know, win the league, win a cup, that type of thing. But it's being sustained, making sure there's a club to support. There's been some examples of that. Unfortunately, clubs have gone out of business. Now, that's the last thing that anyone would want to happen. But for me, it's to be a team that you know, the fans can connect with and that enjoy watching and appreciate at the minimum the sort of effort that goes in, because that has to be the minimum, and put some smiles on people's faces.
Brilliant. Welcome back, Paul.
Thanks very much.